Hey everybody, this is Jason Alba, and we are wrapping it up. If you don't know what it is, let me just share real quick. At the beginning of April, so this was on April Fool's, sorry, it wasn't a joke. I made a post about doing a course or doing a YouTube Live or a Facebook Live or whatever, once a day, Monday through Friday. So I'm taking Saturdays and Sundays off, on a topic that you'll find in Pluralsight. So you can see on April Fools of 2020, I started out with personal branding, went to informational interviews, working, communicating with different personalities. I have over 34 live courses right now in Pluralsight. And so I had plenty of stuff to talk about. Some of my favorite courses, like emotional intelligence, the courses leading with emotional intelligence was an awesome course that I learned a lot from. We talked about the leadership and management courses earlier this week. I mean, there's just a ton. So I wanted to show you real quick. If you come over to the Jibber Jobber channel on YouTube, you'll find those. And I'm putting them into playlists or channels or whatever. I don't remember. So I'll have the 30 days in there. So today's May, right? So we're outside of April. And we're on day 23. So I got to do 7 more, and I'll do those over time. I'm just not going to do those every day. But one that I really wanted to share with you really quick before we jump into today's topic is the one that I just did yesterday with Dan Appelman. So I learned about Dan Appelman when I became a Pluralsight author. And as I was talking with a friend of mine who has been a developer for a couple of decades, just a really smart thinker, he said, "Oh my gosh, I have all of Dan's books on my bookshelf." And he didn't have a lot of books in his bookshelf and his work bookshelf, but he had Dan's books in there. And I thought, all right, this is cool. So I met Dan at Pluralsight conferences, and every time we talk or every time I listen to him present or whatever, I'm just really impressed with his strategic thinking. And so yesterday I wanted to go in and talk about recession and pandemic and careers and career planning. And it was awesome. We talked for over an hour, and we talked about ideas that we could do to help stabilize what used to be known as job security. I call it income security, or I talk about it as career management. So what are the things that we could do to help ourselves have a better career? And it was fun. You know, Dan and I we go back a few years now, and we don't talk all the time, but at conferences we'll chat and stuff. And it was just two friends chatting, and we both have been down very interesting paths as entrepreneurs. We both worked in corporate America, and we both really believe in multiple streams of income. And so it was great to get kind of his overview of what's happening in the world. And really how it plays into cycles, because he's written about and even has courses on managing your career and preparing for the downtimes. Well, my heavens, what if we had prepared for this downtime? And I know you're sitting there thinking, well, how in the world could I have prepared? There are people out there hurting really bad right now. Honestly, there are other people who aren't hurting at all. Like it sucks that they can't go to restaurants and do their hair and all the stuff people are whining about. But financially, there are people who are not even concerned about like losing their house or whatever. And, so I'll give you one of my quotes, and then we'll jump into one of my favorite quotes, I should say. It's not one I made up. And then we're going to jump into the topic. So, and I talk about this in a few of my courses. When is the best time to plant a tree? They say, right? When is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. Whether you want shade, definitely 20 years ago, or if you want fruit, 1 or 2 or 3 years ago. When is the second best time to plant a tree? And it's right now. Like, stop, don't delay. So anyways, this was a really fun conversation between Dan and I. Here's the title of it, or you can just go find my channel on the Jibber Jobber channel on YouTube. All right, just wanted to plug that. So today I want to talk about this course called Customer Service for Software Developers, Delighting Customers. I love the idea of delighting other people. I want people to walk away from my apps or my product experience or my company or any interface, any touch point that they have with or around me and think, that was delightful. That was awesome. I really like that. So I pitched this course in May, probably January, February of 2015. So it was a few years ago. And the reason why I pitched this course was because in my career in software, how do I say this? Software developers are pretty cool. Okay, so I'll say that. They're pretty cool. They're fun. They're stereotyped, right? So the stereotypes around software developers are they are introverted. And then taking that a step further, they don't even like humans. They don't like people. Or they like people from afar, they don't really want to be on the phone with them. And they, I'm going to make my thing. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, then go somewhere else. Or back in the olden days, like in the 1900s, there weren't a whole lot of options in your software choices that you needed. And so it's like, hey, if you don't like it, get a pencil and paper and do it there. Nobody's going to do that. So just suck it up and use what I've created. Those are stereotypes, right? I'm seeing a shift in the demographics of software developers, and I'm seeing more diversity in thinking, and I'm seeing a different type of person, right? And so one of the delightful things is the software developers who are coming in as having a background in design or graphics. Like they love beautiful stuff. And it's interesting to see people who have a photography or a graphics art design background come into software because they're not just thinking about, if I push this button, does it actually work? Like I'm going to enter something in a field, push a button, and then do I get the right results on the back? That's an older software mindset of, do all of my functions work? Do all the button pushings and the links and stuff, do they work? And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's interesting to see people coming in who are passionate about beauty, right? And so just with that change, I'm seeing more people come in with a passion for their end user. Different than suck it up, buttercup. Like that's all you got. And if you have any ideas, and put it on the list and I'll go somewhere at the list. Nowadays, people are much more inclined, designers, I think, or developers are much more inclined to really think more about their end user. And the other thing that's really interesting is actually a couple of aspects that are really interesting in software design and development. There are a lot of options, right? I remember when I was a kid, I think I went to like Radio Shack or some store like that, and they had the software on the walls, and that's all you got. Like that's all you could choose from. And you're like, I need a thing that does this, and they're like, oh, you want this one? And it wasn't like, oh, here's 17, go pick. Nowadays, like when I started Jibber Jobber back in 2006, we were the only website app out there that did CRM for job seekers. We were the only ones. Within 10 years, we probably had a dozen to 20 competitors. This one guy was like, yeah, I couldn't find anything. Should have done a Google search. Couldn't find anything. So I actually threw this together on my honeymoon in Hawaii. And I was like, what? Like, seriously? I think you missed the whole point of what a honeymoon is. He's actually not around anymore. He is. I don't know about his marriage, but the system isn't. His system isn't. My point is, there's a lot of competition out there right now, and we can develop something very quickly and very easily, or maybe if it's a lot more complex, it takes more time, but we can develop stuff. But what's the barrier to entry to competition? It's not that high. It's not that rough to come out with the greatest, coolest idea, and then somebody else does it the next week, right? As a matter of fact, here's a funny story. I launched my company or my website on a Saturday. I remember I was on a camp out with my kids, and I was so anxious. Like I knew my developers and QA were putting this together, and we were going to launch it on Saturday. And I was like, I can't sleep. It was so emotional and so exciting that I was like, I need to leave. And so I went camping, and I would call, I think my wife was home, and I'd call and I'd be like, hey, Is it up yet? Is it up yet? Is it up yet? Try it now. And it was just crazy, right? So like I said, there was none other, right? No other competition. Monday, my first competitor launched. Monday. A few months later, him and I are on the phone, and he said, when I saw Jibber Jobber come out 2 days before he launched, he said, I went around my office and I was like, who gave Jason Alba the plans to our website? Because they were so similar, like crazy similar, how close what we had both come up with. And that's the way it is today, man. People have choices, and we have to be really sensitive to that, because if we don't delight our customers, they'll go somewhere else where they're going to be delighted, right? The other thing that's really interesting is that I'm going to go back to the olden days, so late 1900s, early 2000s. When you went to work and you used some software at work, I remember working on an AS400, not as a developer, but as an end user. And if you don't know what an AS400 is, go back and look at some movies from the 80s. It's basically a black screen with green font, and there was no graphics, right? It's called green screen. Should maybe be called black screen, but anyways, it's green screen. And so you go use your green screen at work to do payroll or whatever stuff you were doing on your software at work. And then, fast forward a few years, and people start adopting things like LinkedIn and Facebook and many years, Instagram, right? And so what's happened was the work software was blech. It was ugly. And it was kind of a still, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit, right? Well, the stuff that we started using at home and then later on our phones was really cool. Like how gorgeous is Instagram, right? And how beautiful are all these consumer things. And people started saying, wait a minute, I want to have a beautiful, delightful experience at work also. And so we've seen company B2B software providers shift from suck it up, this is what you get, to, oh crap, I have a lot of competitors and we're losing business because my competitors are prettier than we are, or they've thought through UX better than we did, right? And so all of these things have come together to kind of say, we need to rethink how we do software design. And a big part of this course is the end goal is to delight customers. What is the software developer's role in delighting customers? Now, I'll tell you right now, I have a couple of developers that work for me, and I do not want them talking to my users. I don't. I need to put a cushion in between my Jibber Jobber users and my developers, because I don't want them to start fielding messages like, oh, and by the way, this thing over here isn't working on Twitter. Can you tell me what's wrong with my account on Twitter? And it's like, it has nothing to do with us, right? I remember when I first started in IT, I came into the organization as a web developer, and then next thing you know, it's like, hey, we got some new computers in. Can you help us set them up? And then, hey, we need new computers. Can you order them? And hey, we have a LAN issue, or we have a whatever storage, this and server and all this other stuff. And next thing you know, me as a web developer is getting pulled from a whole different bunch of directions. And honestly, I loved that. I really liked the opportunity to go up a few notches and get my fingers everywhere and understand how everything in the organization worked. The problem is, I don't want my developers doing that. I want my developers developing. I want my developers focusing on the product that we spec out. I'm fine if they get feedback from customers, but I want it to be filtered through the proper channels. And I don't want my developers messaging my users, because has anybody ever been in this situation? This happens whether you're in corporate and your customers are internal corporate customers, or if you're a third-party provider and your customers aren't internal, but they're external customers. Your customers they're brilliant, right? Our customers are brilliant. I know some software designers out there, they're like, no, my customers aren't brilliant at all. But our customers are brilliant and they have great ideas. And I love it when a customer comes and says, you know what, on LinkedIn, they do this thing this way. And it's really cleaner than what you're doing. On Twitter, they do it this way. On Instagram, on Facebook. I love tapping into multi-billion-dollar organizations and getting design ideas. And I only can get that from the diversity of users that I have. It's a beautiful thing when the users come with ideas. So this is a double-edged sword. What's the double-edged sword? I can't have my developers interfacing with that, right? I need them to focus on what they need to do. They need to build, create, maintain, fix, patch, whatever that is. I can't have them in meetings with customers who are super excited to share their ideas, because that's just not the proper, it's not the proper order, right? So with all of that said as a background, where does it fall on, where does customer service fall on software developers? Let's jump in real quick to this this course. It's called Customer Service for Software Developers, Delighting Customers. If anything else, the thing I want a developer to walk away with is a customer service or a customer-centric mindset. Okay, you talk to UX designers and you talk to anybody on the product team, and we're moving away, or we have moved away, like we're running away from, I know what we want and I'm smarter than my customers are kind of dumb users. Really, that's kind of a mindset that there was maybe a couple of decades ago, to my customers are actually really smart. They know what they're asking for. They know their jobs better than we know their jobs. We need to get in their heads and pull out as much value as we can to create the best service and option and software for them. Because if we don't, they're going to go to our competitor or one of our 200 competitors. Imagine I have people who come to me and they're like, I'm going to make a CRM. And I'm like, great, join the fray. There are at least 500 CRM companies out there. I haven't counted them, but I know there's hundreds, easily 200. I'm sure there's more than that with all the tiny ones out there. All right, so in this course, developing a strong customer foundation, what can love lead to? You know, it's not every day that you get to talk about love in a Pluralsight course. That's pretty special. Until there's a technology or a programming language called love, I'm going to say I got the market on that. Why we hate customer service. Whose job is it? I hate when people are like, that's not my job. And you read a lot of management books and leadership books, and the first thing to cut out in a bad culture is that's not my job attitude or mentality. However, we do need to have clear lines and boundaries, or else abuse can happen. And that's more true as the company grows and becomes more formal. Small startups, it's everybody's job, right? If you're a one-man show or there's two people, it's kind of everybody's job. But I will say that if it's two people, you and a developer, you got to protect your developer, because the highest value they bring is not necessarily dealing with customer issues. I do love my QA person to interface with customers, because she gets a real good sense for what the issues are, and she starts to take on the issue from the customer perspective, and she fights for the customers. All right, understanding the customer, internal and external customers, developing a customer mindset, benefits of great customer service, how much time to spend on something, how much time is reasonable to spend, what does time spent mean? Do you have time for customer service? Should you reduce time spent on customer service? There's a lot of metrics out there where it's like, you know, when you're on the phone or when you call in to a phone bank, and they're like, one of their goals is to get you off the phone as fast as possible, because one of their metrics is how many calls can I take or make in an hour, right? And if you're hogging up that whole hour, their whole metric went down to 1, and that's bad for them, even though they're providing excellent customer service. How to reduce time spent on customer service. All right, the next one, how to specific tactics to improve your customer service policy and examples. Communication is key, managing expectations, how much communication, the tone of your communication. I'll go back to what I said a few days ago, when I used to work at a government agency, law enforcement, and I would answer the phones that came into the whole organization, and I was kind of grumpy and gruff. And my wife sometimes would call in like, hey, let's do lunch or whatever, and she would hear my grumpy gruff thing without knowing that she was calling, and she's like, why do you answer like that? Like, that's so rude. And I was like, well, who else are they going to call? They have no other option. If they need us, then they need us. And if they have to wait for 10 minutes, they're going to wait for 10 minutes, right? Or an hour or whatever. Like I said, today, man, aside from the fact that was government and we're not talking about government, the world has changed. The competition out there can be fierce. I'll tell you something. I told my QA person, she's pretty much my right hand man. We do design meetings and roadmap meetings and all this stuff. And I told her, I said, we will never be the best at features because we have, let's say, 20 competitors out there. Somebody will always have some feature that's better than ours. It's just the way it is. And even if we find that feature and we do better than they did, somebody else is going to find another feature that's better than ours. We're like playing leapfrog, and we're never going to win just on features, okay? We're never going to win based on design. One of my competitors up in Canada who comes from a graphics background, gorgeous, beautiful system. But I get their users coming to me saying, hey, your stuff's ugly. Theirs is way prettier. I wish yours was pretty like theirs, but they don't do stuff. Like they don't have the breadth and the depth of stuff that I need. So I'm coming over here to use your ugly system because it works and it does what I need. I know, I mean, we've worked on this. We've poured a lot of time and resources into updating our design, but no matter what happens, I will never be the best looking design. I just won't, because there are people out there that have a much better eye and knack for design than I ever will. So I like functionality, like, and as developers on my whole team are kind of engineers, and like, that's what we go for. Like, does it work? Okay, great. Let's move on to the next thing. So we're not going to win on functionality across the board. We're not going to win on best design. But I told my QA person who helps me with customer service, I want to win on customer service. I don't ever want to lose on customer service. I want our customers to feel delighted. There's other options out there, but are they going to get the warm fuzzies that they get when they have questions or issues or whatever? That comes down to your tone frequency. Customer service through UI or UX. I love the idea of how we can reduce customer service by having better UI and UX, a better visual experience, right? And maybe how we can streamline customer service to the first tier being more of a self-help. And I think that companies do that. They try and do that a lot. It's not very user-friendly, because usually I go into those places, try like 3 things and not get me on a phone call with somebody. I need a human who can understand my issue and not send me through this weird algorithm that doesn't work. Customer service communication tools. We got the intro and email, contact us forms, phone as a tool. Double-edged sword right there. It can be great to really get to the heart of the issue, unless you get someone that's really chatty, and which is fun. It's fun to get to know customers and stuff, but time is money, right? Webinars. I love webinars. The chat function, blogs, social, and then conclusion. The other thing that I would say that really added or enhanced customer service on the Jibber Jabber side is the getting started videos. So if I go into Jibber Jabber, I have a whole series of videos that are like 2 to 5 minutes long on how to do certain things. And these are things that people ask most of the time, like, how do I do this? Or why can't it do that? And I'm like, oh, check out this 2-minute video. Everybody's up for watching a 2-minute video. They don't want to watch a 20-minute video to learn how to do a thing, but they'll watch a 2-minute video. And the cool thing is I made those, and I haven't had to touch them. I mean, I should. We're doing another UI overhaul and a UX overhaul, so I'm going to redo the videos then. But I really did those videos probably years ago. It's an awesome fix this once and ride that wave for a long time. All right, customer service plan: 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Customer service tips, intro. Let's see, guarding your phone number. There's some really cool ways right now where you can guard your phone number. Using humor, got to be careful with that, and follow up. All right, examples where customer service has an impact on business. And here I'm talking about examples from various companies like Zappos and Kayak, et cetera, et cetera. So look, like I said, I want to move away from the 1900 stereotype of we don't care about you. We're sophisticated. We're making algorithms and black box things, and you'd never really understand it anyways. I want to shift away from that level of mentality over to, we love our customers. We want to delight our customers. We recognize there's competition. We want to keep you around. So not only are we going to make functional stuff and make functional stuff that looks good, we're going to give you a delightful experience overall. And honestly, I mean, our onboarding team and our CX team has a lot to do with that, but I want that mentality permeated down to the developer level. I want my developer to be an advocate of doing the right thing for and by the customer. That's what this course is all about. So that wraps up this 30-day sprint. And over time, I don't know if I'll do 1 or 2 or 3 lives every week, but I'll do at least 1 live a week if I can. So it's been fun. Go check out on the blog. You can see the whole list of the ones that I did, or just go to the channel on the Jibber Jobber channel on YouTube, and you'll see all of those recordings. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Thank you.